We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Yes, Jeffrey?
Nothing. Sam broke it down what we're going to do today. So I was confused, but now I'm not. I see
You're
the
about
light.
to say something sarcastic. You're like, oh, I'm on TV.
My husband calls me Sam Repeat Shocker because he says I repeat things a lot.
Our producer goes, Sam, we have 9 minutes. And Sam goes, oh, good. So we could talk after each subject? I'm like,
that's kind of
doing it for 5 years. Yeah.
Welcome to DBL. Welcome. I'm in for Tori today. We miss you, Tori. We love you. Okay, let's begin. We're going to start with some viral videos. Up first, a man in Washington State has been arrested. This is terrifying after surveillance video went viral. So look at this. A video shows a man attempting to kidnap a barista at a drive-thru near Seattle. The barista pulls her hand back inside, foiling the attempt, and the man in the video drops his change. Now, if you look closer, you can actually look at that. See the man trying to loop a zip tie towards the barista to try and drag her through the window. Now, police posted the footage. Any tips from the community all the tips from the community led to the arrest, thank goodness.
You couldn't just ask for where's the guy with the worst forearm tattoo in the city?
Let me see again.
Yeah, it's like...
What did it look like?
It's weird that, like, honestly, and I'm glad, I'm not even trying to make light, people are doing things now, you know you're on camera, that is a very obvious, that was the first thing I noticed.
Yeah.
Like, it's gonna, I just like having the...
Identify you in a heartbeat.
Exactly. Also, what are you doing?
What was his plan? Like what? I mean, I knew what his plan was.
But no, like physics. Maybe this is why you should pay attention in physics. Like, how did he think he was going to pull her out of the building?
That's what I mean, right?
Through the window into his window where he is also sitting. I don't know what.
I think it's important to point out that she was the only one in that store. So he obviously did have a plan because he knew no one else was there. He didn't think about cameras being there or his very identifiable. Identifiable tattoo. But yet, I mean, we're making a little light of this. This is scary. I mean, had it gone the way he wanted it, that's going to be a scary video.
I mean, it's what I tell my daughter, and I'm sorry to cut you off, and you have a daughter as well, Sam. You all, especially as a young woman, but anybody, but as a young woman, you should always be conscious of places where you are alone because, it sounds terrible to say, but somebody else knows you're alone as well.
I've received a lot of flack in the past making appearances on different shows talking about similar situations where I will say if I'm in an elevator and a man comes in, I will leave the elevator. And I know that comes off very sexist. It's like people will write me and say you're painting a broad brush of all men. But when it comes to, when I worked at Jamba Juice one time, I remember I had one of the early shifts and me and the manager were the only people there, but the manager left to go do some things. And I remember being terrified. It was like 4:45 in the morning, really dark. I didn't know if somebody could come in. I'm like 15 years old. And as a woman, you're always on high alert. I mean, Jeff knows there's been a moment or two here at the studio where Jeff will appear all of a sudden. He's just walking and I will scream because I feel like myself and a lot of other women are always on high alert, whether it be the elevator or a stairwell. I won't even go in a stairwell.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's terrifying.
It's great, and I think you do teach a larger lesson. If people want to write you and say that you're painting a broad brush, you know what, Sam? You're alive to get those emails because you followed your instincts. And I tell my daughter all the time.
Yes.
Gabrielle Union has the I can't call it an anecdote, but the story in her book about when she was sexually assaulted. She was working in a store. There was a weird guy. He was a black guy, and she was like, I don't want to be like that towards my people. But her guts, there's something inside of us as animals. It's like something's wrong with this guy. Why is she hovering like that? But when you override that because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or go towards a stereotype, and she let him in and he did what her body was telling her he was going to do. So follow your instincts. If you get off the elevator and nothing happens, fine, take the next one, but always make sure you're here to tell the story.
Well said. Very terrifying. I'm glad that woman's okay. Okay, so we've got another drive-through video that's gone viral. This time a mom was at a Panera Bread drive-through when her child began screaming. The employee refused then to take her order. Take a look.
So you are going to refuse to take my order because my child was screaming?
Yes, I have the right to do that. If you're more than welcome to come inside, or you can place an order online and we'll make it for you.
And what is really, like, you're going to not take my order?
Yes, ma'am, that is what I'm saying.
Okay. All right, well, I do have this on video, and I will be emailing corporate because that's just, like, completely rude. I cannot come inside because my daughter does not have shoes on. Do you understand that?
No, man, I understand, but you're also more than welcome to order through online as well.
So you want me to take an extra 20 minutes and order online?
The majority of comments on the video are not on the mom's side. Lots of people are saying that the employee shouldn't have to risk their hearing to take her order. But what do you think? Who's in the right in this situation?
Jeff, are we risking hearing here? I mean, that's a little.
Listen, here, in the beginning, I'm like, I have kids, right? I have 2 children, and this happens a lot. And if someone was giving me a hard time, I'm like, listen, man, I apologize. They're not screaming now. Could I just place an order, right? To get out my phone, deliberately, she's saying he's rude. You start filming and say you're going to get this man fired with corporate. He's being very professional, saying you could do this. I guarantee you, if I had to bet all my money, that kid had shoes. She's just making up excuses not to go in the store. It's not going to take 20 minutes to order online. I am on the other side. I'm not on the parent side on this one, and usually I am always steadfast. But she was being extra rude, and then she wants to on top capitalize with her viral video. I'm sick of these videos. I'm sick of pulling out your phone. Handle things like an adult. Hey, I'm sorry, my kid's not screaming anymore. Can we get past this? I got a busy day. This always happens. If you had kids, you'd understand. Can I just get a coffee and an egg sandwich and get out of here? You know what I mean? Sure. That's how you handle it. You don't pull out your phone and shame somebody, get corporate involved, and then try to get a little notoriety from it. I'm not down with it. Not
trying to get a little notoriety, trying to get something going. First of all, definitely trying to get him fired, absolutely, and get her I'm an aggrieved mom TikTok career started. He could have done what Jeff said. Hey, really, can I grab a sandwich really quick and coffee? But she didn't want that. She wanted a little bit of clout.
We need to have a little bit more compassion here. I am not condoning her trying to shame him by videoing. That's how you escalate a situation. Mm-hmm. However, I think he escalated the situation too. I could hear her voice cracking. It's really difficult being a parent, especially when you have a little one screaming and crying, and who knows what her day was. Well, who knows what his day was? If both of them had a little bit more compassion, I think none of this would have escalated to what it was. I think if we can all come from a place of de-escalation, we won't have people trying to shame others. We won't have people saying, I'm not going to take your order, because you could tell that little kid's cry was like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. It sounded like Miles. Miles has meltdowns all the time. Mm-hmm. And if I'm in a moment of, when your kid screams like that, yes, it's annoying that person at the drive-thru. It's also really annoying for that parent too. So it's just a perfect storm. I'm going to give compassion to both, but I tend to be more on the mom's side.
Just a quick question for you. Do you think when he presented other options for her, that was de-escalation? He said you can come inside or go online.
The kid calmed down. At that point, they were having a full conversation where she could have placed her order and gone on her way. It's hard to take the kid out of the car seat and do all those things, especially when your kid is in the middle of a meltdown. So compassion on both sides. I think this would have ended the entire situation.
You don't think thinking about, hey, you know what, my kid's not crying now, we're having a legit conversation, you can't hear him, could I place my order? You think going to TikTok?
No.
Thinking about going to TikTok is the right answer to de-escalate things?
No, that's where she was wrong, and where she could not let go of her ego.
And people treat drive-through workers, waiters, service people like crap. Okay?
I agree with that.
And that person, everyone's entitled these days. Oh, you didn't give me extra ketchup, but I want free. I want to talk to your manager. That guy's dealing with that all day too, and I understand where the mom's coming from as well.
I agree. Yes. Okay, so finally, you guys have to check out this very low-speed police chase in North Carolina. A man who police say was armed with a knife, stole a John Deere tractor, then led police. Cam, just want to take it in. I want to look at the video. Okay, led police on a 20-mile-per-hour chase, all while blaring the Dukes of Hazzard theme song. But it is serious. They said he tried to mow down some pedestrians. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Police actually shot the wheels of the tractor, but the man continued the chase for a few more miles after that, even after losing a tire. That's commitment.
That was going faster than I thought it was going to be.
It really did. It just ended up being an advertisement for John Deere. Like those, I mean,
a good one or a bad one?
A great one. It's nice speed on that. They blew the tire out. It still ran. I mean, we have to make light of this. I mean, obviously, it looks like there's a person that was suffering from some kind of chemical incentivization in this, but you know, I'm glad nobody was hurt. But if we want to get serious for 1 second, trying to mow down passengers, that's a different
pedestrians.
Pedestrians, yeah, that might be like some more serious charges than just kind of stealing a tractor.
Right, there's deeper issues here.
The Dukes of Hazzard thing was kind of funny.
It was good. It was on brand. Yeah,
it was on brand.
Yes.
Coming up on DBL, our interview with best-selling author James Patterson. He's telling us all about his new thriller, and Todd and Julie Chrisley have started serving time. But did they catch a huge break with cushy prisons?
It's a new year, and DBL is all the talk.
Let's get it going.
We had a lot to talk about last year,
I'm flexing every day.
and we're not stopping in 2023.
I'll see you guys on the flip side.
I needed to hear that.
We are on. Jeff, what was your thoughts on the tractor story?
I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
It is. There is a. I don't know. Comical thing to it. No one got hurt, right? Of course, don't do that. I don't condone that. Blah, blah, blah. But you got
Allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all for people doing what they want. Whatever. But yeah, I mean, the Dukes of Hazzard thing blasting. It's kind of funny.
It was kind of like that's the thing that it's so weird about just humor in general and stand-up or just wherever.
Okay, good.
It's like
Thanks, guys.
humor
Sorry
comes
about
from
that.
a dark place.
Or even a real place.
Right. It's
like you could see that on a movie, right?
Right. I mean, how many people, comics can make jokes about their divorce? I was with the late, great Robert Schimmel. He had a 20-minute ending thing where he had the slides and everything about him going through cancer treatment. And it was...
In his stand-up? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, people were like crying and laughing because it was horrifying. Because he was like... But it's like, you have to... That's why I would say it's hard to be a great stand-up comic from San Diego, because it's beautiful there. You need grit, and you need city, and you need people yelling, and you need anger and tension. And it's like that's where all the humor is, and it's like we kind of are. I don't want to laugh at that because it's like that's where the humor is.
I know, but that's like maybe more on my level how to communicate, right? You're it's maybe someone in a way lethargic, but you also get when you go through the dark times and have rough patches. Those are the best storytellers, right? If you have a cushy life and your worst day is having someone at the drive-thru not take your order, you're not going to get good stories. You're not going to become a better person from that. Right?
That's going to be her best story. And then I pulled my phone out and said, I want a turkey sandwich. And then he said, and that's like,
Great, thank you.
And you call it your TikTok, going back to that story. I don't know.
it just seemed performative.
Everyone working really hard this
Big
morning.
shot, Rob.
Looking
That's
good,
right.
everybody. Yes, Kel. Welcome back. Todd and Julie Chrisley have reported to prison. The Chrisleys were convicted in June of defrauding banks out of more than $30 million. Julie, who was sentenced to 7 years, was supposed to report to a federal prison in Florida, but instead was in custody at a federal medical center in Kentucky that has an adjacent prison camp. It's not clear why she's at the medical facility or how long she will actually stay there. Now, meantime, Todd reported to this minimum security prison in Pensacola, Florida, where he will spend the next 12 years of his life. Now, according to the New York Post,
I've lived in apartment complexes worse than that.
Same.
I was just going to
me too. 1,000%. Todd's prison stay will be similar to most federal prison camps, which include TV rooms, a prison theater, and outdoor activities like racquetball and horseshoe. Okay, so where should financial crimes criminals serve time? Is this too cush?
I send them to the state prison, the worst.
With people that have
absolutely.
raped people and murdered
I can make an argument that what they've done is much worse. When you talk about Bernie Madoff, when we say things like, I feel like white-collar crimes get away with things because you and I and Sam, we have no ability to understand what $88 billion means. So what is that? But when you say this guy used a gun and stuck up a 7-Eleven for $800, that's a mandatory minimum in my home state of Ohio. I think it's like 11 years or 7 years or something like that. So somebody that has stolen $700, not the right way, obviously, they go to jail in a place where people are being killed regularly. But a person that stole $19 billion is playing racquetball? Where they do that at? How many people? How many people's finances did Bernie Madoff clear out?
What if I were to say everybody should be in a facility like that? Because you look at other countries and they have the data that show, whether it be Norway or whether it be Iceland, where they have prisons for violent criminals that look just like that, with TV rooms, no bars, and the prison guards actually go and shake their hands, and they've seen that when you treat someone like a human being and not like an animal, despite how horrific your your crime is. They've seen that those people have a much higher rate of rehabilitation. Do you agree with that?
I watched that on Netflix too.
It was good.
It was
Happy Jail.
Yeah.
It was like really cushion there, and that was
Very cushion.
Yeah. But here's the thing: if someone commits 30 crimes, isn't there an incentive to get to a prison like this? Like, hey man, I screwed up one time, whatever it may be. I robbed a liquor store because XYZ, or I committed these crimes. I'm going to be a model, prison or whatever, inmate, so I could get out of here faster, right? I'm going to do whatever you guys say. Isn't there something for wanting to rehabilitate quicker rather than this is my 10th time in prison and I'm probably going to stab somebody in here? Should those people be in with those people? Because those people obviously don't care about life or yours. Right. Should you be in there for one crime?
Right. Well, Bernie Madoff, he destroyed thousands of lives.
Right. Yeah. Great question.
I agree with you. But is he going to go stab someone? No, he's not.
We don't know. But I mean, the reason that he is the reason you have to act like that in certain jails is because those jails are not about rehabilitation. They're
Survival.
about punishment.
Yeah.
And so when you have that situation, when we decide to not treat people like human beings, to not have air conditioning, to not have masks during the height of COVID.
That's why I say everyone should be in a place like that.
Then that's what we're going to get. But if everybody stayed in a place like that, there'd be more people rehabilitated. We've interviewed a bunch of them on this show.
Yep.
Good convo. We'll be right back.
When you have a cavity, you end up at the dentist, getting a filling to repair the damage to your tooth. You often have two options: a tooth-colored composite filling or a silver-colored dental amalgam. According to the FDA, dental amalgam fillings contain liquid mercury. A viewer texted us to ask if dental fillings that contain mercury are harmful. So let's verify. Our sources are the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the Environmental Protection Agency, the American Dental Association, and Dr. Kelly Johnson Arbor, co-medical director of the National Capital Poison Center. The answer to this question needs context. Here's why. The type of mercury used in amalgam fillings is called elemental or liquid mercury. It binds together with other ingredients in the filling, and once it's applied on your tooth, it hardens into a stable substance. The danger comes from the process of installing or removing one of these fillings, which can expose people to mercury vapor. When dentists drill the amalgam, the friction generates heat, and that heat allows mercury in the filling to escape into the air as a vapor.
Because it's toxic through inhalation, if you breathe in those fumes, that's what can be dangerous.
Both the FDA and the EPA say the amount of mercury that people are exposed to when they get dental amalgam fillings is generally considered safe for most adults and children over the age of 6. But our sources say certain people should avoid getting these fillings, including people who are pregnant or planning to become pregnant, nursing, or those with kidney issues. So what should you do if you already have a dental amalgam filling like this one? Just leave it there. The FDA says removing intact amalgam fillings results in unnecessary loss of healthy tooth structure and exposes you to temporary increase in mercury vapor released during the removal process. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
Welcome back. Our next guest has sold over 400 million books, and he's not slowing down anytime soon. His new thriller, The House of Wolves, is out now, and it already has readers howling. Earlier, we spoke with James Patterson.
Please welcome back to the show, James Patterson.
Welcome back. Now, your new book is described as a cross between Yellowstone and Succession. So what is it about these kinds of shows that get you excited?
I think a lot of us, including me, including Mike Lupica, who wrote the book with me, we love these dysfunctional, powerful dysfunctional families like on Yellowstone, like the royal family. Except, so Harry goes and his brother slaps him around a little bit and can't talk to his dad. But what happens with the Wolf family in House of Wolves is much, much, much worse. Their family motto is kill or be killed, and they mean inside the family. So it's the other thing about it is, though, we deserve, after the last couple of years and even last week, we kind of deserve some entertainment. And that's what this is, I think, entertainment.
James, it's always great talking to you. Let's talk about your co-writers. You wrote so many wonderful books. Well, I want to squeeze them in there. You just mentioned Lupica. I want to put them in there. And with so many amazing people. And this book, The House of Wolves, is with sports writer, like we said, Mike Lupica. How is this collaboration with Mike different than, let's say, Bill Clinton? And I'm going to circle back.
Bill's a much better, the President Clinton's a much better saxophone player than Lupica. Dolly's a better songwriter. And I'm doing one actually with finishing a Michael Crichton book, which I'm just working on now, a novel that he started a while back. So, it's been great. And, people always say, well, there are a lot of disagreements. I've never had any disagreements with Mike Lupica. I never had any with Dolly, whose birthday is this week, and I'll be singing her happy birthday over the phone, and she'll try to cut it off, but I'm going to finish it no matter what.
I love it. Yeah, well, I want you to speak to all the aspiring writers out there, including myself. When we always say that the hardest thing to do is figure out the plot twist. So how do you in your books always keep us guessing till the end? And what's the secret to a great plot twist that's still believable?
Well, I don't know about believable, but, I'll do several drafts. I'll do several drafts of the outline. And every time I go through, I'm always going, well, this happened in this chapter. What if this happened? And, and that's how the twists come in, where I'm always, any scene, I go, okay, well, that's what happened. What would if it went the other way, or if somebody got killed here? And I always like the idea of everybody's at risk in my books. So there's always drama, because you never know if somebody's going to get to the end. And that's true of Yellowstone, too. I mean, other than Kevin Costner, kind of everybody seems to be at risk on that show.
Absolutely. Well, James, a lot of people don't know this, but you produce as well as write. So you produced a documentary, which I love, about Jeffrey Epstein. We were talking about him a little earlier in the show. It's called Filthy Rich on Netflix, who is actually one of your neighbors in Florida. And let's put that into context. You never even saw him, so we say neighbors loosely. Do you think we'll ever find out?
He was half a mile away,
Yeah, I wanted to put that into context for sure. Do you think we'll ever find out who was involved with Jeffrey over the years, or?
I don't think we will. I think if it was going to come out, if there were a lot of people, it would be with Ghislaine. And I mean, because that was a bargaining chip, and she certainly didn't play it. So I doubt it. I mean, who knows? You never know about these things. And then there's certain things. One of the nice things about novels like House of Wolves is you do get a conclusion. And in a lot of these true life stories, we never really, we did find out what happened in Idaho, it looks like. But in a lot of these cases, we never find out. We don't know whether Epstein hung himself or if somebody got in there and wanted to shut him up.
What do you believe? Do you believe one thing or the other?
I think it's possible that somebody went in there to shut him up. I have talked to a couple of doctors who said that it wouldn't have happened that way if he'd hung himself. I don't know. I mean, who knows? We don't. But House of Wolves, you're going to know what happens at the end.
Look at the writer directing us back towards the book. I love that. There you go.
James, we appreciate you. You truly are a living legend and so fun to talk to you. DBL Nation, pick up The House of Wolves, out now. James Patterson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
The U.S. began the day already $31.3 trillion in debt, according to the Treasury Department, and that's inching closer to the debt ceiling of about $31.4 trillion, the highest amount of debt the federal government can legally accumulate. We turn to a number of sources to answer the big questions, like first, why do we even have a debt ceiling? The Committee for a Responsible Budget explains the debt ceiling, or debt limit, was established during World War I as a way to make borrowing money easier and more flexible, and Congress has raised that limit many times since then. What happens when the U.S. reaches its debt limit? The debt can't rise past the ceiling. No more borrowing. So the federal government can only spend money it has on hand to pay for its obligations. In her letter to Congress, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also warns the Treasury, quote, will need to start taking certain extraordinary measures to prevent the United States from defaulting, which essentially means doing some creative accounting on repaying certain funds and programs. Yellen expects spending only what we have, and those extraordinary measures will keep the U.S. in the clear until at least early June. So what if we do default? Well, we can only speculate because, as the White House explains, the U.S. has never intentionally defaulted after not raising the debt ceiling, but warns of widespread economic fallout if it does. This Treasury Department report further explains, quote, credit markets could freeze, the value of the dollar could plummet, U.S. interest rates could skyrocket, the negative spillovers could reverberate around the world, and there might be a financial crisis and recession as a result of default. The report examines the last time we teetered on the edge of default back in 2011. Though Congress eventually did raise the debt ceiling, we came so close to the brink that the U.S. credit rating was downgraded. Job growth slowed, the stock market fell, and financial markets were overall stressed for months. And right now in 2023, there's real concern we'll head back to that precarious territory, with a vocal contingent of Republicans in the House of Representatives saying they will refuse to vote for a debt limit increase without certain spending cuts that could be really hard to agree on in this divided Congress. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Publicly releasing tax returns has been a tradition among presidents since Richard Nixon. Donald Trump broke that tradition, his returns only recently being released last December after a years-long congressional investigation. Verify viewer Scott wanted to know whether Joe Biden has resumed the practice. So, Scott, let's verify. Has President Biden released his tax returns? Here are our sources. Before the 2020 election, Biden posted his tax returns dating back to 2016 on his campaign website. Since taking office, he's posted his returns on the official White House site. He released his 2020 returns in May of 2021 and his 2021 returns in April of 2022. Vice President Kamala Harris's returns are also available on the same sites. So, yes, we can verify President Biden has released his tax returns. Another source of controversy when it came to Trump's taxes was whether they were audited by the IRS, something that the agency has done since Nixon. That congressional investigation found the IRS hadn't done those audits most years of Trump's presidency. But since Biden took office, the White House has told reporters the audits have resumed. With your Fast Fact, I'm Casey Decker.
Welcome back. If you're looking to remodel your bathroom, make sure you do it in a way that suits your space. We're talking about it in today's tips, sponsored by Jacuzzi. First, if your bathroom is small, build in, not out when it comes to storage. This could be shower nooks, medicine cabinets, or recessed lighting. Next, keep the color palette on the light side. Painting a bathroom a lighter color will open up the space and make it appear bigger. And finally, hang hooks and shelves. This will free up counter space and create a more clutter-free bathroom. If you want to start your remodel, Jacuzzi can help you do it the right way with a spa-like experience. Jacuzzi offers an unmatched, stress-free remodeling process. Visit jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-523-1523. We have so many comments. Okay, so let's start with Todd and Julie. Shane says, Al is right on. Bank fraud is much worse than stealing a candy bar. And then in regard to the Panera drive.
Al said armed robbery, to be clear.
But still, I'll take it.
Yeah, okay.
I'll take it.
Just to clear that up.
And then the Panera drive-thru, Stacy says, I'm with the employee. We also didn't hear what happened before she started recording. Great point. We will see you guys all tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay safe.